Welcome to Prima's Pod, the podcast where two Latina cousins unpack culture, conditioning, and the stories we inherited, and decide what we're keeping. We're your hosts, Carla.
And Rosa. We talk real life, corporate America, relationships, motherhood, identity, and what it looks like to stop outsourcing our power and start owning our choices.
I'm Carla, a somatic guide exploring how identity and nervous system patterns shape the way we show up.
And I'm Rosa, a corporate leader and life coach, passionate about conscious leadership and personal responsibility. This is a space for reflection, truth telling, and remembering that we're more powerful than we were taught to believe.
Hi, Prima.
Hi, Prima.
So, to pick up where we left off on the last episode, where we were sharing some of our childhood stories, I want to be kind of intentional and explicit about the purpose of sharing our stories in the first place. And I wanted to explore on this episode maybe how you see our stories, our childhood stories, that how are they still showing up for us in our adult life? Like why do they matter? Or yeah. And,
How are they so prevalent, right? In kind of our condition, our programming.
yeah.
For instance, I told the rock story. I was told like, shut up, your brother didn't do that. I number one, I questioned my own reality. Where do we see things like that happen to us? Where does that feeling come normal? Sometimes when you're in a narcissistic relationship, that tends to be something that we're very it's you're connected to that invalidation of your own reality. So then you also start to question yourself in ways like, okay, I was just invalidated. I didn't my mom didn't believe me. So and it almost feels like, okay, so is my brother the baby brother? And sometimes, I don't know, parents are not supposed to have a favorite, but sometimes there might be a favorite. And it's like, well, why did my baby brother, why was he believed? Why was I not believed? And
Mm,
and so you start questioning yourself, like, well, maybe I'm not, maybe I'm not worthy of being believed. Maybe what I have to say is not valuable. And it kind of and there's little things. I told a rock story, but there's other little points in life that you realize what were the moments, because I think that there's a reason why these moments stuck with us. Why I know that you and I have worked together, and you don't forget what you feel. You don't forget the moment. You don't forget what you were feeling, like all of the emotions you had within your body. You just don't forget them. That those are moments that are like very vivid in
mhm,
your mind, even though you were told not to believe it. It was very, very vivid. So I
mhm,
think that we tend to gravitate towards being okay with being invalidated, where you just kind of your comfort areas are places where you're really not valued, or you really don't need to speak up. Just get it done. Just do your work, just do what you're supposed to do and keep it moving and shut up. And
mhm.
and that's kind of how I think that those are like moments that show up in your adult life that way.
Let me ask you two questions, or at least one question about what you just shared when you talked about, your younger brother's version of what happened was the version that was believed. Like, how did that, do you think that you got a message there, even if it wasn't conscious at the time, that men are to be believed more than women?
100%. One and not that the men are supposed to be believed, but there's like somewhat of an honor system, because I mean, and we'll get to kind of the future. I grew up with 5 guys in the household, even though 2 of those were my brothers. I had 3 boy cousins and we were all around the same age.
Mhm,
So when my parents split up, I was in a household with 5 men, 5 guys.
mhm,
And the treatment of the boys versus me, it was like, "No, you be quiet, you go do the chores, you help grandma clean, you help this, you help do that."
Mhm.
The boys can do whatever they wanted. So,
Mm.
absolutely, there was like an honor system to boys. I guess that is unspoken.
Not only an honor system, but the girl's job or the women's job is to like serve these boys too, right?
When oh, yeah.
The laundry, the cooking, right? This is
Absolutely.
it's like this is what you not only did you see it, but it was expected of you. It's not something you just witness, like I see my mom, I see my grandma. It was also expected of you.
100%.
Hmm.
And it's not said, it's just the system. It's just kind of the conditioning. It is
Hmm.
absolutely not said out loud per se.
I mean, sometimes it is. This reminds
Yeah.
me of, and this is a whole other generation, 2 generations back, but this was for sure my grandmother's reality. Ooh, now I'm realizing there's a big connection there. So my grandmother's reality, not our abuela, but the other one on my mom's side,
Mhm.
she was she had she had 5 brothers. She had 5 brothers and one sister, a baby sister, but she was the big sister. And she was expected to take care of her brothers, like iron their shirts, do their laundry, like take care of the house, make the beds, all clean, all the things. Like that was her job. Not the baby sister. The baby sister was, oh, she's just a little princess. She doesn't need to do anything. But my grandma,
Yep.
she,
Absolutely. The baby.
she, yeah, she took care of things. And then I guess my mom must have kind of taken that on as like, oh, okay, oh, the woman is the caretaker. My mom was a caretaker, but in a different way. She didn't do like what she would consider menial manual
Yeah.
labor or tasks, that were beneath her. But she took care of her family financially. Like my mom was the oldest
Mm.
of her. She had 4 younger siblings, and
Yeah.
and she kind of took the place of the provider, the breadwinner.
Yeah.
And she did. She provided for them. She worked, and she did that until she got married. In fact, she kind of put off getting married until she was, older. Like in my mom's generation, it was considered already you're an old maid if you're getting married at 25.
Right. Absolutely.
And my mom got married at 25 and had me when she was 30, which again, oh, that's so old. Imagine,
Yeah.
today that would be still considered pretty young, but that was like a generation ago. My mom's a baby boomer. But
Yeah.
she felt obligated to like keep taking, and even after she got married, she continued to provide for them. She continued to send money home for them, and she felt
Mhm.
responsible for her siblings. And so again, I don't know that anybody yeah, okay, maybe my grandmother did tell her she expected that of her, but sometimes it's unspoken and we just understand that that's our job.
Well, I think that, and speaking of being the caretaker and taking care of boys, like another story, I know that I think that I've shared it with you is that I remember just very clearly because I felt it was one of the most unjustified. I felt like it was like so unfair and I just felt like so defeated because my one of my aunts was taking care of us, of my 2 brothers and myself. And my brothers were being bad. They were just kind of giving my aunt a hard time or whatever. And my mom came home from work and my aunt's like being dramatic. And this aunt was somewhat dramatic. And she's kind of like, your boys, they were just terrible, and she kind of was crying. She was emotional and complaining about how bad my brothers were.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, okay, good. I'm good. I'm safe. I got my ass whooped. And my mom hit us hard. She didn't hit soft. And I remember that I was like, why am I gonna get hit? Like, why am I
Did
being
they get in
dragged in?
trouble too?
Oh, absolutely. The 3 of us got hit.
The three
The
of you got it.
3 of us got our
Okay.
ass
I
whooping.
just needed to understand, but still, nobody.
No,
So nobody should have
but
gotten their ass whooped, but
right.
including you.
True. No, agree. Agree.
Oh dang. Well, What
And again, and I
did
was
you did you ask why? What did I
I
do?
did.
Okay.
I did. I said, "Why am I gonna get hit? I was being good. I didn't do anything. Why am I being hit? Why am I gonna be dragged into the room for you to whoop our butts?" And she said, "Because you should have known better and you should have made sure that your brothers were not misbehaving."
Oh, so that's
Like,
your
so even though my aunt's the one that's taking care of us, it all of a sudden it was dumped on me that I should have been the one to check them.
oh,
And
wow.
again, those are like those that moment taught me like, okay, I need to carry the weight of my brothers. And I
Wow.
did that for like I in so many ways you kind of take it on. You kind of carry a lot of your siblings' burdens and a lot of things, you know, it just becomes something that becomes your responsibility, with that type of programming and conditioning.
Interesting. I never felt like I needed to do that for my little brother, but that was your experience. Hmm.
Yeah.
Do you remember how old you were when that happened? Out of curiosity.
We were already here
Uh,
in California.
you
This
maybe
was,
like
the
10,
house. Yeah,
11.
so I was probably like 10, 11 when that happened.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I think that was
I guess my pressure as the older kid, the oldest kid in the family with the family of two, a small family, was to be a good role model for my little brother.
yeah.
That pressure I kind of felt, or
Well, speaking on that pressure really quickly, then maybe we can get into kind of the next question that I think um so where have you noticed yourself running on like autopilot, with kind of these like little conditionings or inherited stories that are showing up for us?
autopilot. I don't know if it's autopilot so much as just like unquestioned narratives, like from like the idea that money's hard to come by, that you have to work your ass off to have anything, or that I don't know, like money always felt tight growing up.
Yep.
And so it always felt like you needed to work really, really, really hard to sort of like earn it or deserve it, or I don't know. There's probably something there with yeah, money or hmm, accomplishing things, doing hard things. I don't know. I haven't thought about this one too much.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I think I think for me, like auto, and you're right on the money. It's kind of like, well, my mom struggled because my mom really did struggle, and my dad didn't help. He didn't help my mom. And
Mm.
but so my mom was work catering trucks, it was hard. Like she was out there at 3 in the morning every single morning. That's the
Like,
time that she
are you talking about like roach coach kind of stuff, or
yes, the roach coaches. Though that was and it was a
that's what
hard
they used to,
job.
we used to call them
Yeah,
that back in the
yeah.
day. I think
Roach
that's probably
coaches.
not politically
My mom
correct.
worked in those catering trucks. That was her first job coming to the US. And like I said, it's a hard job. They're like, and my mom's in the kitchen cooking while the driver's like making these stops and she's making food for the people that are like yelling orders out to her.
Yeah, it's hot in there. It's miserable.
It's hot. No, I remember in the summer I would say, "Oh, can I go work with you?" And she'd be like, "Okay." Oh my goodness. I'd be like falling asleep. Like I'm like sitting on this little chair that she's supposed to sit on, but she'd be cooking while the damn truck is moving.
Oh,
Um,
geez.
yeah, she'd be like preparing all the meals, getting ready for the next stop. So I would sit in the little metal kind of welded on seat and I'd be
Yeah.
like trying to fall asleep there, like trying to find a little spot to kind of lay my head and like sleep because it was so hard. And my mom did that for years just to kind of make ends meet. And even then we were still we still struggled. Like I started going to the swap meet, working at the swap meet at 14 to make because my mom would say, "Oh, well, the only shoes I can afford are the Payless shoe store."
Mhm.
And when you're in junior high, you just don't dare to show up with Payless shoes at junior high because you're gonna be made fun of. And I was like, there's no way. I don't want I wanted some LA Gears. I don't know if you remember those shoes.
Oh, barely. I love that you say junior high though, because it's
It was
middle
junior
school now.
high.
It was junior high.
It was junior high, and I wanted some LA Gears, so I a friend of mine was like, "Oh, they we got would go on the weekends to the swap meet, get in there at 5 in the morning." So, and then the ladies that are selling, like a lot of Asian ladies that would sell like shoes and clothing and stuff like that, they'd say, "Hey, you speak Spanish?" And I'm like, "Yep." They're like, "Come and work for me." There's like, "How much will you pay me?" And they would pay you like 20, $40 for the day.
Amazing.
Um, so and that's how I bought my LA Gear shoes because my mom couldn't afford LA Gear shoes for me.
Love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, but yeah, you're
you don't want Payless shoes, you're right. I think in middle school, junior high, I was into Vans, I think.
Oh, okay. My brothers were into Vans because they were skaters, so they had to get the Vans or the Converse.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hate
Those
sneakers,
were
Reebok.
yeah,
That's so funny.
that it is funny is but yeah, I do remember. And then for me, a little bit of the autopilot, I think it also was that just as much as they like you say that just as much as they have to work hard for the money to put a roof over our heads, like family is just as important as our work because showing up and being with family every weekend, like that was almost like also a requirement.
Of
We were like our family, like I grew up with all of my cousins. We were together every single weekend at my grandma's house, and my grandma's house was my house because that's where I grew up in.
Mhm.
When I came here to California. So my grandma was the one that would take care of us while my mom and my aunt worked. And every weekend we were together. So it's
Mhm.
like, yeah, you work hard, you put a roof over our head, you provide food on the table, but family is just as important for you to spend that time with them and have those weekends to just come together and be together, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. But at the same token, it's like that same expectation is set upon you when you grow up, because I remember that when I had my boys and again, I was a single mom very, very young.
Mhm.
And I felt the obligation of having to be with my family, showing up every weekend. And if I didn't show up a weekend, it was almost like, what's wrong with you? Like, you
Yeah.
have to, even though I'm exhausted, I'm working a full time job with two little ones.
There's
And maybe,
there's no
yeah,
mercy for you.
there
Like
was no mercy.
family first, you know?
Family first. Like, who cares how you feel? Who cares how exhausted you are? And of course, don't get me wrong, when you show up, like family's energy, you're happy to see
Yeah.
everybody. You're like, "Oh,"
There's
like
good food. There's
it's
good food.
good, great food. My grandma, like great food. And then the house I grew up in, we had a swimming pool. So if it's summertime, the kids are swimming and they're killing all that energy and
Yeah.
everybody's enjoying each other. So I'm not complaining about it. It's not a bad problem to have, but it's like our own exhaustion almost gets put like it doesn't exist. Don't even like talk about your exhaustion.
Well,
Doesn't even matter.
so what you're speaking to is the difference between the traditional American values, which is like individualism, and our heritage, which is the opposite. It's more about it's family. It's about the
Yes.
group. It's about the culture. It's not about
Yep.
the one individual person. Your needs don't matter that much. It's
Yes.
it's all of us, you know.
It's all
Whereas
of
like
us.
it's not a lookout for number one. No, it's like it's more of a it takes a village. It's
Takes a
very
village.
it's very different. But your story reminds me of we also used to go be with family every
Yep.
weekend growing up, but
Well, that's how
there's
you and I connected when we were little in
for sure
Tijuana,
we
because
saw each other
it was the
every
same tradition with when my mom and dad were together. I had that same thing in TJ, when they were together.
every weekend, but this continued so into my adult life. So you were asking me earlier some of these like things that we just took on. So my extended family has always been either in TJ or in San Diego. So on my dad's side in TJ, on my mom's side in San Diego, which is on the other side of the border, right? So when my daughter was born, we would spend every important holiday down south, in mostly in San Diego with my other grandma. So we're talking about Christmas, Easter, birthdays, Mother's Day, stuff like
Mhm.
that. And it's kind of understood. It's like an expectation. It's an expectation that of course you're going to come spend Christmas with us. Of course, Thanksgiving also. So Thanksgiving, Christmas, all of the important holidays, right? And we
Yes.
would do that, but we would like kill ourselves because I was married, right? So not only do I have my family, but I have my suegros, I have my husband's parents too.
Yep.
Well, they want to see their granddaughter on all the holidays too.
Right.
So it's not, and it is true that usually it's the mom's side that gets priority with the grandparents, but it's nice if you can kind of like make everybody happy, but
Right.
you're torn. And so what would we do? We would try to make everybody happy. We would go spend, like, for example, Christmas Eve in San Diego and then drive 3 hours back up to LA to spend Christmas Day with the other side of the family.
Mhm.
And we would do this unquestioned. I mean, it was never even a question. Like, of course we're going to do that. Of course we're going to do it.
Right.
Doesn't matter the traffic is horrible and it's going to take you twice as long to get there. It doesn't matter that it's raining or storming and
Right.
this isn't even safe to be on the 5 in these conditions, and
Yep.
people drive
Nothing
crazy.
matters.
It
You
doesn't
you get
matter.
there. Yep.
And at one point, I don't even know how old my daughter was at this point. She was probably older. She was probably more like 7. So it took me a long time to like really come into my own with this. My husband and I were sitting there on the 5 in like horrible traffic, rain. It's like, I don't know, it's like taking us hours to get back. And we're like, why are we even doing this? Like, can we just, it was the first time it occurred to us that we can question this
Yeah.
expectation. Like, we can say, no, I'm not coming next year
I'm
because
staying home.
yeah, because I need this, because we need this, because it's safer, because I don't even need to explain why. This is just, like it's more of that standing up for what I need versus what I think everybody else needs.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we are taught that like to sacrifice our needs for the needs of others, which is very Christian, it's very beautiful. But when you do that over and over and over again,
Mhm.
and you're like basically abandoning yourself, um,
Yep.
your body's going to pay the price for that, especially if you're not fully okay with it. If there's a part of you that's angry about it, resentful about it,
Mhm.
that's going to show up in some symptoms in your body.
It's funny that you say that because, like, I think that now because I never knew what anxiety was. I never knew what any
Mm,
of all these things were, like these things related to mental health. I really did not know what any of that was.
yeah.
But when like now that I'm older, I can think a big chunk of my life as a single mom, all on my own, I was suffering through major anxiety where I couldn't sleep. I
Mm,
would be up in the middle of the night, just tossing and turning, like stressed out, just feeling exhausted, but just couldn't even get the rest, just like thinking about work, thinking about like kind of survival mode.
yeah.
And the thing of me privately, like I've never been one to kind of, even though I have this beautiful, amazing family, I've never been one to be like, oh, I need help. Like I could, it was almost kind of like I could never be like, "Oh, can I borrow some money?" I would never do that. To me, in
Mm,
my head, even though I have this beautiful, lovely family,
hmm.
it just, it you suppress so much and you kind of probably suffer from all these kind of conditions or things that are happening to you. You just don't understand them. And we tend to ignore them when we don't understand them. We just like toss them to the side because we just didn't like I didn't have the resources back then for me to be like, "What is this? Why am I going through this?" To me, it was just kind of like, whatever the hell it is, I need to get over it and I need to stay focused because I got 2 little ones. And it was like survival mode.
Yeah, it's
Um,
just keep going, keep going, keep going. So what you're describing is your nervous system doing its thing to try to like be okay, to try to regulate your body, right? So you were in like this survival mode, like you said, which is like a fight, or it's like a high alert state, a state of high alert,
yeah.
state of hypervigilance, a state of fight or flight, a state
Yep.
of I can't relax because if I stop, something bad might happen. So you're just tense, and of course you couldn't sleep. Of course you
And I
couldn't.
had lost so much weight too, because that was another thing. I was always thin when my kids were little. Like I was always already very small, but
Yeah.
I had gotten ugly small, like bony,
Mhm.
like where you can see there's a photo of me where you can see like my backbones, almost like an anorexic. Like somebody took a picture where like they took a picture of something and it was like my back, and you can see like my bones from my back kind of sticking out a little bit.
Yeah.
And I remember that my grandma, my mom's mom, because she raised me and she knew me so well.
Yeah.
And my grandma saw me one day and she said, "You're sick. Like something is going on with you." She says, "You look horrible." And she says,
Mhm.
"And if you do not gain weight, I'm going
Mhm.
to go to your house and I'm going to make sure and I'm going to sit there and I'm going to stay with you until I see you put on some weight." And I
Mm.
remember when she said that to me, I was like, I'm like, I don't need an added stress and having my grandma in my house and like
Okay, I'll do better. I'll do better. But
yes, I'm
it
like,
you weren't having any kind of oh my gosh, se me va la palabra. Um, like an eating disorder. You didn't have an eating
no,
disorder.
no, I never had. No, oh
So
no. I've
it
always been
wasn't
a
about that. Yeah.
oh
Okay.
no, I mean, if I was so I was very, very, very skinny. And we grew up where my grandma served us a big old plate, rice, beans, your meat, your nopales, like very healthy foods,
Yeah.
but big old plates. I
Yeah.
finished everything. And I was
Yeah.
super, super small. My mom used to tell me, like, don't eat like that because your metabolism's going to change and you're going to gain weight. And you know what I would, my smart butt would say to her? I would be like, well, I want to gain weight,
You
and
probably
I would
did.
and guess what, you guys? When your metabolism starts slowing down and you start gaining that weight, and then you're like, and then you're doing everything to lose it. You're like, what? You just eat up those words. You're eating up those words. Like, how did I talk to my mom like that? Why would I even say that out loud?
Well, I mean, we say that as we're laughing and it is funny, but metabolism, it does its thing, right? So
Oh, 100%.
at the time that you were could see your bones and you were eating pretty normally, you
Well,
probably
I wasn't eating normal though through it because I was in such like a high fight or flight. Well, when
you
I
weren't
got that anorexic was towards like that skinny was towards the ending of my relationship with the father of my kids.
so
Because
you were stressed and
so I was going through a lot because of addiction, because like it was a fight or flight every single day of my life. It was very high anxiety, walking on eggshell. I never knew what I was going to come home to, what I was going to get. It was a scary time. And so I really did not realize that I was in a fight or flight. I did not realize.
no,
Um,
no,
but
you didn't have
until
the words for it at the time. You were
and
young.
I and my instinct of not wanting to have my grandma come over and feed me and stay with me until I gained weight was I was protective of him. I didn't want my family to know what I was going through because that's the father of my kids. I was not going to say anything because again, that's part of the inherited stories. You protect the boys, you protect your man. Nobody needs to know what I'm suffering through with this man. Like it was my business.
Mm,
And I didn't want them to hate him. I didn't want him to see him in a different way. I wanted everybody to love him like I loved him.
mm,
Well, like I love him because he's no longer here. But it was just protection mode, but it was to my own detriment, to my own health, you know?
mhm. Yeah. So, yeah, okay. Wow.
So that would yeah, that's a lot. Well, I think that, I think that one of the things that we, in touching in these stories, I think it's very important in understanding what's the difference between honoring our roots and then obeying them.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. And when you say obeying, it's like perpetuating the same pattern and passing it on to the next generation or the next.
Mhm.
Like we still honor them without carrying everything forward, or can we choose what we carry forward and choose what we
Yeah.
find?
I think that the way for me, in the way that I feel that I've honored it, I've honored a lot of kind of our roots, is that there is so much beauty to our culture and our traditions and like exactly where I come from.
Mm,
You know, our dad's side of the family, like you got the teachers, there's so much like the passion to teaching others. I think you and I kind of have a lot of that in there, like wanting to share all this knowledge with everybody and just bringing everybody. So I think in the way that we honor our roots are like just realizing the value of my grandma, my mom's side of the family, like that grandma, my abuelita was everything to me in so many ways, but she was wise beyond her years. Like this lady knew how to heal in ways that were so freaking natural and beautiful.
mm,
And, you know, I think that the way that I've honored, it's kind of like keeping what is so special and like just honoring all that wisdom and all that love and all that tradition, but at the same token, like untangling the toxic little traits and
mm,
being forthcoming with my kids, on sharing with them, like, this is kind of where I come from. And part of being my mothering you came from a lot because I did mother with somewhat a little bit of fear. I feel that I feared single mom with 2 kids. To me, statistics would say my boys can end up in gangs, my kids can end up doing
mm,
drugs, my kids could end up taking the wrong route. So I
mm,
think that I was so hyperly focused and scared, and so I did lead like I was a mother. I mothered like in a state of fear to some degree. So I think I was somewhat very strict and structural to some
mm.
regard. I mean, believe me, my kids, I'm sure that the word dictator would pop in their head sometimes.
Oh, this is not a word we like.
We don't like that word. We do not like the word, but
No.
it's a word that they might have even used out loud.
Interesting, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's a part of us
There's
that
a
has
part of us.
that when needed needs
Yep.
to. Wow.
But I think that in the way that I've honored it is that I've shared with my kids where that came from and kind
Mm,
of acknowledged, like, yeah, this is a way, but the question is like my boys are so amazing. Like, would I change anything? I don't know. I don't know, but I think that just being honest and transparent of the struggles of the cycles that I did break because I didn't beat my kids. My kids, they learn to fear authority in different ways,
yeah.
because they loved games, they loved soccer.
Mm,
And it's like these things will get taken away if your grades aren't good, if you're
mm,
not focused in all the right areas.
mm,
So I think that there's so much beautiful things to bring forward.
mm. I
What
can,
about for you?
yeah, for me, listening to you, I realize there's probably a big one, and it has to do with faith. So if I were to just obey my roots versus honor them, it would look very different. So obeying my roots would look like me going to confession every week, me going to mass every Sunday, me
Yeah.
doing Ash Wednesday. I think it's tomorrow. I'm not sure. It's like or the day after. Um, I don't do those things anymore because for me they would be like just a going through the motions that it's it, for me, religion has nothing to do with faith or spirituality. For me,
Yep.
religion is man-made, and yes, it's part of our culture. It's part of our heritage. It's definitely I have a strong connection, and I do like to sit in church once in a while just to sit and
Yeah.
be in stillness. But I don't feel obligated. I don't feel like my grandma's in heaven looking down on me and she's angry with me because I'm not at mass every Sunday.
Yep.
I'm not worried, I'm
That
not,
guilt is non-existent anymore, even though it might have been put into our heads when we were young.
yeah, but see, like my grandmother, both of them, I'm sure, but I remember more my other grandmother because
Yeah.
our
We
grandma,
lost our grandmother very kind of we
young,
were little.
we were
Yeah, it was
little.
hard.
But I remember witnessing my other grandmother's faith, and she always talked about her dad and his faith and what that was like. And this is my heritage. Like I keep that.
Mhm.
So that's been passed on to me through my mom, and I carry it. I hope I passed it on to my daughter. This just deep, deep trust in my Creator, like to provide for me because He always has, and just like, oh, I'll get emotional, but this is like, these are things that my grandmother used to always say. Mi papá siempre decía. My dad always said, and then she
Aw.
would quote him. She would quote, and I was like, knowing what I know about like the Bible, because I know quite a bit, I was like, well, your dad was quoting the Bible, And it's like, and he probably didn't
Yeah.
even know because he probably couldn't even read. My grandmother,
Right. Yep.
yeah. And so it's like how interesting, like all of this has been passed on. And it's like, these are just like beautiful things that God takes care of his creation. No one, the birds don't have to like go to work to get a job to get food. Like God
Yeah.
gives the birds food and he gives all of his creatures food. Like we're good. And I read like my faith is how I honor my roots. And I do it, that's how I honor my roots without having to
Yeah.
strictly obey the way they did it.
Yeah. And I think overall that they would be proud because like I think that they did the best that they could with what they had.
For
And
sure.
and I think that they've done amazing because thanks to them, we're here. We are here now. So to me, it's the way that we honor, those people, the way that we honor all of our ancestry is, I think, by doing exactly this, is by making the next generations better, like
Mhm.
not losing sight of the important things, you know which is faith. It could be like love, family. It's all the things that are really, really the most important because at the end of the day, you're not going to take the money to the grave. I think that the most important is the legacy we leave behind. It's the connections that we build. I think that becomes how we become rich in life.
Amen. Yeah.
Amen. All
Thanks.
right, Prima.
Take a quick moment to notice what stood out as you were listening and where you might have more choice than you thought. If you enjoyed what we shared here, consider subscribing so you don't miss future conversations. It's completely free.
And if this conversation stirred something for you and you're curious about working with one of us, reach out. You'll find our Instagram QR codes at the end of each episode video, or you can DM us at carla.presence or Rosangelica Life Coach.
Until next time, primas.